Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show podcast. So today's episode is going to be a review of Rupaul'S Drag Race UK episode 2. I know I'm late to the party, but I was busy, can't be asked to review episode 1, so we're just going to go from here, honey. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. Now your girl is almost eligible for monetization, but I need 1,000 subscribers to secure that. So please subscribe to my channel to support me. And if you have already, thank you very much. Just to kind of recap, that lip sync was abysmal. I'm still kind of feeling out the girls. I have a few that I like, a few, I don't really say there's not really anyone that I don't like in the show, but I wouldn't really say I've got any clear favourites yet. But let me know how you feel about the contestants this year. But I feel like we could all agree that lip sync last week was absolutely horrendous and embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for the UK after that lip sync. Anyway, I wasn't really sure what to expect from the UK drag race thing. I automatically knew it just wasn't going to be as good as the US version. I think we all kind of know that. We all kind of expected it, but kind of wanted to see how it went. But so far, it's okay, I guess, just seeing how it goes for now. So obviously, Gothy's out. We have the first lipstick on the wall, mirror sequence, vinegar strokes, wipes it away. She made a reference on, the wall basically said, the little pork chop is gone, which is like a reference to the first ever US drag queen to get chucked out. And obviously she did this whole Miss Kendall thing, like obviously a remix of the Miss Vanjie stuff. And Cheryl Hole said something along the lines of, now Kendall is a national icon. And, the little Miss Kendall thing was cute, but let's be real, after her, basically after her rubbish performance, nobody's really going to remember who she is by next week. She tried, but on to the next one. Bye, girl. And obviously in the episode we also see there's a rivalry forming between the Vivienne and Cheryl Hole. What do you think it is? Obviously we see, a confrontation near the end of the episode, but aside from that, why do you think that the Vivienne doesn't like Cheryl Hole? Do you think it's solely because she's loud? Or perhaps do you feel like there's some jealousy there? I think perhaps maybe there could be some jealousy because in drag, Cheryl Hole does look pretty good. She's been, coming into the show, everyone was looking at her as, the one to beat. And obviously I believe that Vivienne thinks that, she is, probably going to be the winner of the show. She thinks of herself as the biggest competition in the show, which I agree with. I think she definitely is the biggest competition in the show. But what do you think? Why do you think that the Vivienne doesn't like Cheryl Hole? Do you think maybe this is just the editing? Or do you think maybe she's a bit jealous? Or do you feel like she has a genuine reason not to like Cheryl Hole? And what do you guys think of Cheryl Hole? Do you think that she has a genuine and valid reason not to like Cheryl Hole? Then obviously the mini challenge, the Vivienne has to pick who she thinks is the biggest competition and who she thinks is the least competition for her. So she says she picked Vinegar Strokes as her biggest competition, which I thought was quite interesting. And she picked Scaredy Cat as her least competition, and then she picked Cheryl Hole, I think second last, something like that, which I thought was quite interesting. Personally, Vinegar Strokes, I think her time on the show is quite limited. From what I've seen from episode 1 to episode 2, I don't think in terms of her performance is that strong. I don't think her lip sync is that strong, and her costumes aren't that strong either. So I was quite surprised when she picked Vinegar Strokes as her biggest competition. I think perhaps her biggest competition would probably be Davina, I think. In terms of Scaredy Cat, I was surprised. Obviously, we all know the result now, but I was surprised that she picked her as her least, her, you know, as her least competition, because up until that point, you know, she won the first mini challenge and she did okay considering the first episode. So I was surprised that she put her as, you know, her least competition up until that point. In terms of who I think, I'm just snorting, like, oh, I can feel the disease coming to get me, darling. In terms of who, at that point in that episode, who I thought the Vivian's least competition was, I would have, as said at that point, I probably would have said Vinegar Strokes, to be honest. Yeah. But what do you think? Up to that point, who would you say would you have picked at that point to be the Vivian's biggest competition and her least competition? And now that we know the result, who do you think is her biggest competition in the show? Did you think that she was right to choose that? And obviously putting Cheryl Hole second last, do you think that was petty, or do you feel like Cheryl Cole is one of the weakest links in the show? So obviously then it was kind of like the who is the biggest competition and who is the least threatening in the show. They have to face off in two different teams. So that was the Vivian and Scaredy Cat. They had their own different teams, and it was an acting challenge, and it was basically a spoof of Downtown Abbey. And overall, even before like we saw like the final edit of the challenge, I was just like, out of all of the things they could have picked to do like a spoof of, like in terms of like the archives that we have in terms of British TV shows, why would you go with Downtown Abbey? I'm just thinking like who watches RuPaul's Drag Race, who I'm assuming has come over from watching the American version. Who watches Downtown Abbey? Who watches it? Like, reveal yourself. In terms of what I would have assumed that they would have picked as their very first kind of soap TV show spoof, EastEnders. I thought they were going to do that. EastEnders. I feel like that is just classic EastEnders. I'm just thinking, what else would they have done? EastEnders. They could have done Jeremy Kyle spoof, an X Factor spoof. Like, I feel like there was a lot of shows to choose from that they could have spoofed, you know, and, you know, would have been way more entertaining and would have been way more entertaining for us, the audience. So I just feel like perhaps maybe they haven't done their proper research, because of course, like, I guess how like Americans view British people, you know, the tea, the crumpets. So, you know, if they were going to think up an over-the-top British show that they assume that we all watch, maybe that would have been Downtown Abbey. But the resources that they have, I'm sorry, Downtown Abbey as the first kind of spin-off thing, it's not acceptable, because they have enough money to put into research to be like, okay, people would have preferred to have EastEnders, the X Factor, something else other than Downtown Abbey. I feel like we would have been able to relate to that more and found it more entertaining, especially after Vinegar Strokes' opening. You know, that Cat Slater reference, you know, I wasn't just a little bit of a slag, I was a total slag. I was like, okay, cool. I would have thought they would have ran with that and did that. Obviously, EastEnders is on BBC anyway. That would have been easy enough to get. But what do you think? Did you enjoy the Downtown Abbey snippet spoof, or did you feel like they should have chosen another show to do? Obviously, in the rehearsals as we were getting ready, you know, one thing that kind of stood out to me was when Bag of Chips said, you know, they said they were going to call their team Slags or something, and Bag of Chips basically said that he'd do a man, woman, or a dog, which I thought was quite interesting, and I definitely don't think that he's lying. So out of the challenge, before obviously the results were revealed, I kind of predicted that the who would be in the bottom would be, depending on how they were to sort things out. I thought like the weakest performances were Something Wrong, obviously Blue, I don't know how you say her second name. Is it Blue Hydration? Blue something, her, and perhaps Crystal and Scaredy Cat. That's kind of who I thought would be in the bottom. In terms of the tops, I felt like it would either be Davina, if they were doing things individually, Davina and Bag of Chips. Even though both of them were good, overall I still found the challenge pretty underwhelming, and even their performances, I found them underwhelming. But I think perhaps maybe that was because of the script. I think. Then obviously we have the sob stories, because what is RuPaul Drag Race without a little X Factor sob story? So obviously the first sob stories that are coming out are, centered around the contestants of colour, which are Vinegar Strokes and Something Wrong. Vinegar Strokes basically said, that the new generations of the LGBT community have it so easy, they can just come out and be accepted in society. Vinegar Strokes said that he came out at 25 and it was very difficult for him because he comes from the Black/Caribbean community, and there was a lot of homophobia in those communities and he found it very difficult. And then obviously Something Wrong, he says that his parents know, but they kind of just don't discuss it. It's just kind of like that elephant in the room. Yeah, it's a sob story, but of course this is real life as well. It's always interesting because a lot of people say because we have Pride in the UK and, there's rainbow flags everywhere, now, there's equal marriage, that somehow this means that, the LGBT community have now come up in the world and are now suddenly equal, when that is not the case. There is still a lot of homophobia in this country. There might not be necessarily, hate crimes, but there's still a lot of homophobia in the UK that people have to deal with and constantly have to function around. So yeah, it's good that they highlight these stories. I think it is good. But yeah, what is RuPaul Drag Race without a little sob story? And then obviously on the runway, it was just one outfit this week, and the theme was Bond Girls. Obviously the Vivian doesn't play any games. She came snatched with that kind of Grace-esque outfit, snatched, makeup snatched. Definitely she's the one to watch. Definitely she's the one to beat. Bag of Chips, the outfits was quite simple, but in terms of like presentation and her performance given the outfit, it was quite good. She plays up to her personality a lot, because obviously her fashion is not the best. She's not necessarily a look queen. She's a personality queen, and she uses her personality to her advantage. Crystal with her dominatrix outfit. Yes, I was living for that. Body snatch. And then the worst outfits for me were probably Cheryl Hole, a mess. Another kind of jumpsuit, which is like simple enough, but it just looked hella cheap. It was all like wrinkled and shit up in the crotch area. Her nipple was out. It was just a mess, honey. And Scaredy Cat's outfit, like the first week she kind of got away with it, but the second week it's just like it's just like she's got her clothes from H&M and then she just put a little sign on them and that was it. Like little creativity, and then the makeup is just getting really old as well. So it's just like, are you just gonna come out like this every week? So I feel like obviously we know the result, we know that she went, but if she had stayed, I think we would have realised really quick that this girl has no creativity whatsoever. So then obviously the promo comes, and I just felt like these promo edits went on forever. I was just like, when is it gonna end? Like, I'm so bored. Like, can we quicken this up? But anyway, the promos come and it's very clear that the Vivian's team is way better. The other team, it just was not good. So the Vivian's team won, and obviously Scaredy Cat's team is on the bottom. So obviously from the bottom, I'm kind of just thinking the bottom three is probably going to be the blue something girl. I'll learn her name for the next podcast. Scaredy Cat and Crystal. That's kind of who I felt may have been in the bottom three. Obviously we see that it was actually Scaredy Cat, Blue and Cheryl Hole. I personally don't think she should have been in the bottom three. Yeah, I guess perhaps bottom three. I didn't think her performance was that bad. Yes, she could have taken it further. She could have been a bit more over the top. I think maybe it was her presentation that let her down, because Crystal's presentation was way better than hers. Bag of Chips winners, second week in a row that we're getting this rupee to badge as a prize. And obviously lots of people have been talking about how the prizes are so ridiculous. And like literally the first episode when they're like, oh, you get a rupee to badge, I was like, where is the holiday, the flights to Palm Springs? Like, what the fuck is this? Imagine I've taken time out of work, out of business to be on this show, and when I win a challenge, I'm only getting a rupee to badge. Obviously, I've done some research or whatever, and I guess because it's the BBC, it's taxpayer funded, so they're not allowed to like do like advertisements or whatever. And it's so they're not allowed to do advertisements or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that the BBC still has like shows where you can win money. So it's just like to not even have a money prize. I'm just thinking like, what? I'm probably thinking they wasted all the budget trying to actually secure the show on BBC, because I'm thinking there must have been a bidding war or whatever. I'm really not even sure why RuPaul actually chose to go with the BBC. I'm sure any show would have taken it. I'm sure ITV would have taken it. I'm sure Channel 4 would have taken it. And then they would have been able to have their advertising in it as well. I believe so. Yeah, yeah. And then they would have been able to have their advertising in it. And then RuPaul probably would have been making a lot more money. So I just don't understand why they've decided to put it on BBC. Don't get me wrong. I love that there's no breaks. But you know, a little break won't fucking kill you, especially with the UK Drag Race. I mean, like, it's not really that engaging in the first place, you know, to really be benefiting no ads. So I think definitely it's probably going to get renewed. But if it does, RuPaul, you know, if your people are listening to this, we need to be on ITV. We need to get on Channel 4, because I feel like that, you know, the prizes, seeing what they get is like, you know, has become like a big part of the show as well. And obviously, you know, the makeup and stuff, like, you know, the Anastasia Beverly Hills deal, whatever. I think, yeah, I feel like the prizes are also have become like a part of RuPaul's Drag Race, like seeing what they win every year. And then also it's just kind of like this grand prize of a web series in Hollywood. Who the fuck wants that? Like, I would rather have a check. And I feel like if there was prize money, obviously there's an opportunity to be had anyway. Being on the show is a platform. You could get like Instagram followers and make money that way. But, you know, the prize money is definitely an incentive there. And I think like people would, you know, I'm not sure if people would take it, but what do you think? Do you feel like the prize money would be an incentive of people to take things more seriously and to make things more competitive? Or do you feel like because the type of platform that even just being on the show gives you now, it wouldn't really change things? But either way, I still feel like there should be prize money. So then obviously the judges deliberate and the bottom girls, you know, go backstage. And as they're backstage, the Vivian and the other girls kind of confront Cheryl Cole and basically says that, you know, she's putting on this act and like she needs to just be herself and yada, yada, yada. And Cheryl Cole basically says, or not Cheryl Cole, Cheryl Hole says, you know, she's feeling a bit underwhelmed and yeah, she doesn't feel like she can be herself and she's got this guard up. But then but in the confessional room, she was kind of saying like, yeah, I am putting on an act, but you know, I have to put on this act because, you know, I don't want to be a nobody when I come out of this show. Because the girls going onto the show, they're very aware that not only are the people of the UK are watching this, but probably people from the US who are interested to see, you know, obviously RuPaul's on going to be on the show, so obviously the American, you know, so that's going to pull in an American audience. And you know, why would you want to go on this show, take time off work, and then come out and not be somebody? So obviously you're going to do things that make sure. So obviously you're going to be looking to be getting the most camera time on the show. You want to be looking to be getting as much shine as you can, so you can be making as much money as you can when you get off the show. she basically alluded to the fact that, you know, yeah, she's been putting this guard up, but at the same time, like, she's not here for anybody but herself, and like, she's here for herself. So what are we thinking? Are we here for Cheryl Cole? Do you feel like she just needs to stop being fake? Or do you feel like the other girls should just mind their own business and play their own games? What do we think? Cheryl Cole, I'm here for her doing whatever she feels that she needs to do to get her coin and to advance herself in this competition. The girls are kind of saying, you know, how she puts on this act and how she's using a lot of, you know, American slang, American sayings like yes, you know, yas, you know, the yeses and the yases. And I kind of have recognised it, and I feel like, you know, I hear it a lot, like I'm quite familiar with it in the UK using of black gay American vernacular. It does sound quite forced, especially the her needs a bit more rehearsal, like a little bit more seasoning, darling. Yeah, I can agree it's a bit forced, but I just feel like just leave my girl Cheryl alone. Like, just focus on your own situation, especially you, Vinegar Strokes. You need to focus on your outfits and your lip sync. So obviously we know it was Blue and Scaredy Kat in the bottom two, and they were the ones lip syncing for their life. And initially I was rooting for Scaredy Kat, but that lip sync was, well, Scaredy Kat's lip sync was atrocious. Definitely just embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. Like, I would just like not go on social media after this. Like, I would just deactivate my social media accounts after that, because it's just embarrassing. She looked a total mess. I don't know what the fuck she thought she was doing. Maybe she was trying to do some quirky, cute, drunk thing, but it just looked a total mess. I feel like she should have just said, RuPaul, you know what? Just let me go, innit? Just let me go. Blue, she did all right. You know, she did her thing. She's probably the best lip sync that we've seen out of the whole of the lip syncs, which is really saying something about the quality of this show. You know, she did her thing. She was, she crafted some sort of performance. That jump that she did on her knees was a bit awkward, but you know, she was trying, and she gave some sort of performance. Scaredy Kat girl, I got secondhand embarrassment watching that lip sync, honestly. And I just feel like next season there needs to be a stricter vetting process. Like, how can you be hiring somebody and you haven't seen them perform? It's just like, surely she must have sent in some tape of her doing a lip sync. So it's like, did y'all actually watch this tape and like actually watch this performance and thought, okay, let's have her on the show, and she can have the place of somebody else. Honestly, I don't think she should have been on the show. If that was the quality of her lip sync, she should have never been put on this show. We need a stricter vetting process next season. Again, another week of an unsatisfying lip sync. But let me know what you think. Did you like this lip sync, or are you just getting very bored out here? What do you think of these lip syncs? Like, do you feel like they're okay? Do you like the lip sync, or do you feel like the lip syncs have just been very poor these last 2 episodes? And then obviously at the end, we see the little outro, and they've made this big deal that Scaredy Kat is not gay, and in the show I think she alludes to the fact that she isn't attracted to gender per se, so perhaps pansexual. But yeah, they've made this big fact that, she is not gay. But what do you think about it? Do you think like they're making it a bigger deal than it has to be? I just feel like maybe it would have held more weight if, she was a good drag queen. But the fact that she wasn't, it's just kind of like, okay. But yeah, I'm wishing Scaredy Kat well. Definitely do some, training on that lip sync, please. What are we thinking, guys? Are we excited for the next episode or not? I feel like For me, I'm just waiting for Snatch Game. That's really all I'm looking forward to at this point. I'm just a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. The first episode was promising, but the second episode has made me think it's just not going to be a great season. Honestly, I think for now, obviously I'm waiting for Snatch Game. I'm waiting for an actual good lip sync. But let me know what your experiences of the show is so far. Let me know who you like and who you dislike. That's the end of my podcast. Until next time, guys. Bye. And don't forget to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube.